Good evening. It is Monday evening, March 14th. It's about 8:05. My name is Michael Clark. I'm not afraid to give my name to anybody that we talk to, and we are about to get started here tonight. We have some good items to go over, but there's been a lot of concern, and I want to start tonight's call off with the fact there's been a lot of concern about the new Treasury directives for those of you that are about to receive some type of funding in different areas, and there's changes being made to several of the main programs that people have, among them being the Dinar or the Freedom Club program, or even some people with the Petro-American program, Petro-America. And guys, I want you to understand that what you learn on these calls, what I've learned over the last 16 years, is, again, it's nothing I've created. I've just uncovered what the super wealthy do. And if you understand nothing else except the fact that you don't know all the answers now, and I was in that category for a long time, but also accept the fact that the answers are there. It's just a matter of you coming to understand the answers. I went 6 months, at least 6 months, in a thought pattern, all statutory, because that's what I was used to all my life. And it took a while to get out of that mode of thinking. But the super wealthy, here's what I want you to accept. They've got this set up so that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. And they are protected, and with this program, you're protected in the very same manner. You're not protected according to the laws created by man. You're created by the rights or you're protected rather by the rights you have through the Constitution of the United States. And we all know that many people can be protected by these constitutional rights, whether they're citizens of the United States or whether they're not citizens of the United States. A contract is a contract, and the Constitution will protect those that partake of that powerful right. And that's what we do. I just share a philosophy with you that I've learned that the super wealthy live by that's different than you and I. And the basis of that philosophy is that anybody on this call that is living their life as an individual is totally exposed in today's society, and you're totally vulnerable to losing everything you worked your whole life to get, whether you've received it yet or not. Hear those words, whether you've received it yet or not. If you've been on any of the phone calls with the technology that's available today, if you've been on any of the phone calls for any of these other entities, whether it's a Dinar phone call, whether it's a Freedom Club phone call, whether it's a Petro phone call, or any of the others that are out there. There's a lot of them out there. We've got people in about 50 different programs. These are the main three, the largest by far, I would assume. But if you've been on any of those phone calls, people understand that there's many out there that want to know what you're doing, want to know who's going to be collecting off of these entities. And as a result, they know within a matter of minutes, they know, and I don't care if somebody tells you they've got a password that just nobody can get through. Guys, they hire the best in the world. If they've got the best equipment in the world, if they can find every nickel Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Hamas have hidden, believe me, there's no attorney, there's no CPA, there's no financial planner or estate planner that is going to be able to set you up in a program of any type that they can't get to, any statutory program, and that's what they all use. They all use statutory programs, basically. There's some people out there that say they have a pure trust, and somebody there may be one we haven't seen, but the three private attorneys, they check these rather regular, just as for to humor themselves more than anything else. And as I've mentioned to you before, they were all astounded that we had all 5 components of a pure trust. They said, we've never seen anything out there that calls itself a pure trust that has more than 3. Well, if it's only got three items, that means there's 2 avenues that somebody can come through and pierce that particular entity, okay? So with that being said, I want you to feel confident in the fact that we do have a very solid and a very strong program. And the difference between what we do and anything else that's out there is that we invoke the power and authority of the second most powerful document ever written, which is the Constitution of the United States. The Bible being the first, in my opinion, first most powerful document. But everything else out there, and I did estate planning according to the conventional methods that everybody uses. For a long time I did it to help my clients. It was all I knew. I didn't know any better. I helped my clients put together living trusts, which have avoid probate, but that's the only thing it does. I had a living trust at one time. There's zero asset protection with a living trust. So those, and the unfortunate part is Reader's Digest had that great article a while back that said that 80% of the people that have a pure trust, have a living trust, actually believe they have asset protection within that living trust. Guys, there is zero asset protection. You are the creator, which means that you transfer your assets, you appoint yourself trustee, and you appoint your self as beneficiary. You, and it is revocable. All statutory trusts are revocable unless they are specifically said there is an irrevocable trust. Well, you generally have to give up control to a law firm or a bank if you want an irrevocable trust. I wouldn't do an irrevocable trust for anything in the world. Society changes. Our lives change. I know people that need medications because of a car accident or something or care, specific care after an irrevocable trust was put in place. Well, you know what? The way it was put together, they couldn't make the changes, and it was really there were several of them that I read cases about. It turned into nightmares. It ended up with lawsuits of the family against the law firm or the bank that was. Well, they were making their nice little cut off of it every month. I'll tell you that. They had no problem with getting their fee out of it. But so anyway, anything statutory can be pierced. Anything statutory is linked directly to the creator. And guys, I don't care. I had a person tell me today, well, Mike, I have an LLC. It was set up for me, and it had its own EIN number. Well, of course it did, but it's still linked to your name and your social security number as the creator. Can't happen any other way unless you totally give up control to somebody else. Well, with the program the Super Wealthy put together, you don't have to give up a bit of control. It's created under the contractual right of Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, which says which says, among other things, that no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. No state, not a single state among all 50 states can pass one single law. There's not a single law in existence in any of those states that can impair your right to private contract, which means if you set up a private contract with somebody, it doesn't matter how sophisticated or how simple. Doesn't matter. If you set up a private contract with somebody, you have just created a federal document which is not subject to subpoena or review. Now, for those of you that have existing corporations and S corporations, for those of you, and I know we've got a bunch of, I don't know how many, but I know we've got a number of independent truckers, and we've got a lot of independent truckers, and it's tough for you to even make a go on the road this day and age with gas prices being what they are. Man, I understand that. You're kind of like iron workers in the fact that you're one of the last group of truly independent Americans that go out there and fight for your own dollar, and you have to take the punches back when gas prices. But a couple of them recently were at a seminar, and they mentioned to me afterwards, before starting, they did start the program, but they mentioned to me there was some new law put together out there where basically if you're in any type of accident, it's the trucker's fault. Well, guys, that's a big business. There are a lot of independent truckers. That rig is your livelihood. That's your life. You've got to get that protected so you never have to worry about losing that rig under any circumstances, okay? I mean, if you don't make your payments, that's one thing. They can take it from you. But any other circumstances, be it a health issue on your part, be it an accident on the road, being some government agency accuse you as an independent sole proprietor of not paying your taxes, and I'm talking independent truck drivers now, guys, but I'm sure everybody on the call understands that that means anybody and everybody out there that has a business of their own. If you have a sub-S corp, if you have an LLC, if you have a partnership, whatever you've got, if it's in one of those statutory entities or modes, it's totally penetrable, absolutely and totally penetrable. And there's I can't think of the name of it. I never can. There is a company out there that they've been out around 20, 25 years, if I remember right. That's what their claim to fame. There has never been a statutory company that they couldn't pierce, put together by a law firm or whatever. I don't care if it's a Wall Street law firm or if it's a law firm out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And I'm not demeaning Tuscaloosa. I'm just saying it's smaller than New York. Okay, doesn't matter. So the purpose of what the super wealthy do and what we look to do on these phone calls is to learn to do the neat thing about what the super wealthy did. It started back in the late 1800s with J.P. Morgan, who went to his lawyers and he said, guys, I want you to put together for me an entity that is so powerful that it's impenetrable, something I can put my financial empire into and never have to worry about losing a dime. Took them almost 2 years. They went through all the statutory entities that they knew of at the time and tried to combine this and combine that, and couldn't do it. Finally, one of them came across and said, wait a minute, why don't I look at this Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution? No state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract, which means now if we put our wishes into a contractual obligation, it's protected. Our business into a contractual obligation, it's protected by the Constitution of the United States, and you basically need an amendment to overturn it. And nobody's going to do that. Too many of them have. Too many of our government leaders have this very program. It's known as different names. It's been right in front of you all your life. And I'll quickly give the Kennedy example for the new people that may not have heard it before. But when Mary Jo Kopechne died in Ted Kennedy's car, and naturally Ted Kennedy then they washed the criminal suit under the table. I guess maybe there wasn't anything criminal. It was an accident. It was an accident. When they went to sue Ted Kennedy in a civil lawsuit for $13.2 million, and this was on 60 Minutes. I had already learned it in my research, but it was on 60 Minutes several years ago. They had an expose on it. When they went to, they found out that the attorneys for Kennedy met with the attorneys for the Kopechne prior to the lawsuit being filed. And by the way, $13.2 million is probably like $200 million today. That was pre-Jimmy Carter years, pre-double-digit inflation and pre-double-digit interest rates. So it was a substantial lawsuit. The attorneys for Kennedy met with the attorneys for the Kopechnes and said, hey, you can go ahead and file the lawsuit, and you can charge him with wrongful death of your daughter and her unborn baby, and you can go through the trauma and the time and the emotion and the expense of a trial, but you won't get anything because Mr. Kennedy owns nothing. And what they pointed out was he had a blind trust, what was known as a blind trust. And he said, we will, Mr. Kennedy owns nothing, and even his salary has been pledged to a charitable foundation, of which the Kennedys controlled. But there it was, a blind trust. When Jimmy Carter was elected president several years later, he had to give up ownership of his peanut farm for some reason about conflict of interest. But he put it into a blind trust. That's another name for what we've got. When J.P. Morgan's people first put it together, it was known as that was the starting point, was the Massachusetts Trust, which was started primarily because corporations could not own land, so they wanted another entity that could own land. And then they said, well, let's run our businesses through it as well, so it became known as a business trust. And then in 1924, in Heck versus Malley, in the case of U.S. Supreme Court case of Heck versus Malley, for the first time was described as a pure trust. It's also known as a blind trust. It's also known as a specialty trust. It's also known as a contract or a constitution or a common law trust or a true trust. All these things are the names for one and the same. Judges have just referred to them in different manners, okay? And the key thing about them is that they're not statutory. They're created privately, and they're created according to the obligation of that which is put into the obligation of a contract which creates that trust. It's a contractual agreement that creates that trust. And in the case of the super wealthy, as well as in our cases, if you understand, a contract has to have two or more parties. There has to be an offer by one party, and there's got to be an acceptance of the offer by the other party. There's got to be consideration or something of value that passes between the parties, and it can't be for anything illegal. Okay, those are the 4 items: two or more parties, offer, or 5 items: two or more parties, an offer by one party. Number 3 is an acceptance of that offer by the other party. Number 4 is consideration. And number 5 is it can't be for anything illegal. Those are the simple, basic premises of a contract. Well, that's exactly what we do, or what the super wealthy do, that we now do. And we got to be glad, because, you know, they spend a lot of money, the super wealthy, to bring up and create the court cases. Some were filed intentionally, and in some instances they wanted to win, and in some instances they wanted to lose. You got to understand, it's not always winning a court case that makes the most sense. Sometimes they had to get a loss to put somebody else back on their heels. But understand, and this is the power that most people have no idea, because you haven't been exposed to it. Understand that everything, all the laws created to protect the super wealthy, they're available to each of us. They're available to you and I, but instead of that, what we're doing, because of our ignorance, because we don't know about it, see, it's not that you're stupid. Stupid means you can't learn, in its simplest terms, or in one of the definitions I heard. Ignorant means that you haven't taken the time to learn, okay? And there's many subjects we're all ignorant on, different subjects for different people. And there's some subjects that we're all very good at. You're different. You're very good at things different than what I'm good at. And one of the few things that I'm very good at is the fact that I've taken 16 years to learn and to find out how the super wealthy protect themselves. Guys, there's no book on it out there anywhere. It was nothing but a matter of a lot of scraping and scratching, and people would and meeting people out of the blue. And no, it's not out of the blue. I don't believe in coincidences. Those of you that know me know that. I believe God puts people in front of us, or situations in front of us, at the right time. And it just reminds me. I heard Garth Brooks on something the other day. I don't even remember what, but that song he has, Unanswered Prayers, how real that is. Boy, there's some things that when we were younger we just prayed for like crazy, and you look back now and you're so glad that prayer wasn't answered. But anyway, all of the assets, when they finally put this together, they created a contract in which you actually exchange your assets in return for trust certificates. Now, these trust certificates aren't just any certificate that you find in at a Staples or an Office Depot. They're certificates that are very powerful. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court ruled that the certificates of a pure trust given in exchange are actually consideration. They're valid consideration in a contractual agreement. Now, that's very good. Now, here's where the program puts together, and here's how it begins to work for you. Our creator, which is an actual person, says to you, in essence, when you read our documents and everything, that if you will give him your personal property, he in turn will give you these powerful trust certificates. They're very powerful because of what they do and because what they don't do. They have no ascertainable value. They do give you, you are the final, using a statutory term, it's not a beneficiary, but beneficiary is defined as the recipient of the assets owned by the trust or the LLC or whatever statutory entity it might be. Well, in this case, the certificate holders. So I'm not going to get into the certificates right now, but just understand, all of you that are listening, is that they are very powerful. Okay, they are one of the most powerful of the 5 components, if not the most powerful, in my opinion. So now you have just given up or exchanged your certificates. Now let's back up a second first and find out why this is so powerful. In a book called The Rockefeller File, written in 1976 by Gary Allen, powerful little book. Again, if any of you haven't haven't had the opportunity, if you want that book, we've got it downloaded. We've got it on the computer. We'll have somebody send you a copy, email you a copy of that book. Just simply email me or email us a little email saying, Mike, please send the Rockefeller file. We'll get it right over to you. We'll download it and attach it to an email right back to you. And it's an interesting book, but the first 12 pages are really what you're concerned with regarding for the protection of what you've worked your whole life to accumulate, or what you're starting to work your life to accumulate. Even for young people, guys, we're creatures of habit, and you're going to live your lives and be where, and me too, we're going to be wherever we're going to be according to the habits we've formed, good or bad. We're all where we're at right here, right this day and age, because of the decisions we've made, because of the habits that are in our life. Okay, so look at yourself, and if you're not totally satisfied, understand that you're where you're at because of the habitual decisions you've made, or the decisions you've made based on your feelings or this or that about something. And it's very simple. If you're not where you want to be, financially, emotionally, physically, it's very easy. It's very easy. You just start changing your habits, and that's very hard. The easy part is to say, I'm going to do it. The hard part is to do it. So once you change your habits, and the number one habit we've all got to change is our thoughts. It says it in every major book on success. So why do some people read it and then go on living just the way they are? It says, as a man thinketh, so is he. In other words, we're going to get what we think about. Even the Bible says, God says, I'll give you the desires of your heart. He doesn't say he'll determine. He leaves that up to us to determine what those desires are. Whether it's, I'm going to become much more, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. You set your tone. See, we can't control our kids. We can't control our spouse. We can't control our employer. We can't control our government to an extent where we can go in and make a change right now. We can. We've let the whole country get out of, this is nobody else's fault, but I'm very sick of hearing people blast this country. If it wasn't for this country, I don't know where they would be right now. And but anyway, gosh, I can get off track on that subject in a hurry, can't I? But anyway, we're all where we're at because of our decisions we've made according to the way we think. So you got to start. If you think every day, I want to be more. I want to have millions of dollars, but doggone it, right? It's bills, paying my bills. I mean, payday to payday. My check's gone before I even cash it. That's the thoughts of your mind. That's what you're going to get, and it's going to continue to repeat itself over and over. You've heard me say it on the calls before, guys. A starting point that of all the successful people I've had the opportunity and the blessing to meet personally, or listen to personally, or listen to on tape or CD, or in person when I go to hear them. Many, many, many of them said Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is still the starting point of all the books that are out there. And you've got Dale Carnegie's, you've got to be able to get along with people, how to win friends and influence people, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, in the book, The Rockefeller File, it states the key to the system. Now, the Rockefellers are the best, guys. The Rockefellers are the absolute best in the world at protecting what they've got. They're the richest, most powerful family the world's ever known, in my opinion. Some people may argue with that. The Rothschilds are that. That's fine. I could care less if you. That's your opinion. God bless you. You're entitled to it. Just from my research, and I admit I haven't done a lot of research on the Rothschilds, but the Rockefellers they're one of the best anyway. And so if they say this is the key to the system, my ears are going to perk up, and I'm going to become a student. Whenever I hear somebody that's very intelligent on a certain subject I'm interested in, I become like a sponge. I soak up what they say. When I would go to conference calls that really interested me, I would always have a paper and a pen. Nowadays we've got recorded calls and stuff, so we can go back and listen again. We will be in a position, hopefully very quickly, where we can that GoToMeeting has where you can stop it and back it up and listen again. We don't have that ability, to my knowledge, with this here. It doesn't matter. Just listen to it. Your brain will start absorbing it. So anyway, they say the key to the system is to give up ownership, but retain control. Give up ownership. I'm not giving up my. Ownership is nothing but a big, old, fat, slobby ego trip. That's all it is, guys. Nobody knows who. I see people driving down the street that I know, and they've got this beautiful big BMW or Mercedes or something, a CSL 550, and I know the person, I know the car is it's got payments up to their ears, and they're behind a couple of months on it. You know, I went through those times. I had the toys, and it was nice. I was never extravagant in that manner, but you realize it doesn't matter. You know, you have a nice car that you happen to like. It gets you from point A to point B. You live in a house. You come home. It's not that house. It doesn't have to be $1 million. Nice, and I like them too. I like architecture and stuff like that. But you know what's more important is what's inside that house and who's waiting for you and who's glad to see you when you do get home. So those are some of the things that really make a difference. And it doesn't matter if you got $3 million or you got $300 million. It doesn't make a difference. I'm going to give to this charity. I'm going to give to that. I'm going to give it. Okay, that's good if that's a goal, but you know, the more personal goals are the ones deep inside. Where are you spending time with? You know, now you've got the money to do some things, so that's great. But let me stay on track here. Okay, so now two parties to a contract. You give up assets in return for certificates, exactly, and in the same manner that the Rockefellers do it, the Carnegies, the DuPonts, the Morgans, the Kennedys, all of the super wealthy families. That's how they live their lives. The first thing I learned, and for those of you that are new, is that everything you own can be taken from you. Everything you own, let that sink in. You never want to own another thing. If you're that much of an egotist and you just have to own things, I have to own my house. Well, you know what? Somebody can sue you for the least little thing, and the more successful you are today, in today's society, with asset investigators being what they are, they can find everything about you in a matter of hours. The bigger target you become in a matter of hours, and you don't even have to be associated with an incident to lose everything. You don't have to be associated with that car accident. You don't have to be associated with that corporation or LLC. You don't have to be associated with the person, or you don't have to be the person that had the heart attack or the cancer or the stroke. If they can link you to it because they find that you've got a lot more assets that you own, OWN, that is a big that just gives everything to them. They can take everything you've got, guys. All they have to do is link it in some way, shape, or form to the incident, and a lot of these large law firms are very good at that. Okay. So the Rockefellers say give up everything you own. So when you fill out your application, you are in essence, and submit your application and your payment. You are in essence saying, Mr. Creator, I accept your offer. And from the moment you click on submit, and we receive that email, from the moment we receive that email, everything you've got in your life has just made a change. You no longer own anything except two trust certificates that have no ascertainable value, which is the thing that makes them so powerful. No court, no judge in the land can take them away from you because they're not worth zero. They're not worth $1 trillion. Okay, nobody can determine until they're finally sold or traded for something of value. Up until that point, there's no value to them. Very, very powerful. I know you don't understand that now, but like I said in the beginning, just accept what you're hearing tonight and check it out for yourself. But accept what you're hearing. I can back up everything with court cases and with constitutional law. Okay, so now you've given up your assets, exactly what the Rockefellers say to do. See, this isn't a philosophy about setting up a program of trusts and LLCs and ownership. This is a philosophy that I want you to learn the same way that I learned it. Not the exact same way, because for me it was many, many, many hours of digging through court cases, of reading, of being on the computer, of meeting with people. But we've got it put together for you now, and we've got most of it. And understand, we're only 2 years old. We just went national 2 years ago. So are there some improvements? Absolutely. Are they being made as I'm talking to you tonight? Absolutely they are. Are they coming fast enough for some of you? Maybe not. But have they put you in a position now that nobody can ever take another nickel from you? Absolutely they have, and that's the most important thing. Nobody can take a nickel from you from the point you start your program, okay? So now you've given up ownership. The trust owns everything. Now it says retain control, according to Carpenter versus White, because you give up the right of your assets when you exchange them for trust certificates. Contractually, you have just given up the right of ownership of those assets irrevocably. See, that's the key. Listen well right now. This is not an irrevocable trust. It is not an irrevocable trust. It can be dissolved at any time by the trustees. You do give up the rights to your assets irrevocably. Now, why do we do that? Because the judge went on to say, because you've given up the rights to your, and I'm paraphrasing, because you've given up the rights to your assets irrevocably, you have no more ownership in those assets than any other man on the street. Correct? If you're all with me. Because you have no more ownership of those assets any longer, you have the same right to be appointed trustee as any other man on the street or woman. And see, I have so many people come to me and say, well, Mike, you can't give up your assets, and if you just have control of them again, then it's substance. No, guys, you've been brainwashed. You've been listening to that statutorily, you are absolutely correct. However, when you get into the law of private contracts, secondly, when that creator, his last official duty, now you've tentatively been appointed trustee, and we'll get to that in just a second. But the creator now, he'll never know a single asset that you own, because his last official duty is to turn everything over to the trustees. His last official duty is trustees. Once he's made the contractual agreement with you and you've agreed to exchange your assets for certificates, now he's out of the picture. He appoints the first trustee and he's gone. And the first trustee is always Trust Services. We are always the first trustee. You can get rid of us in a heartbeat when you get your documents, if you want. We even have the minute order prepared for you that says you can. We no longer want Trust Services to be involved, and we're out of there. Hey, I have no problem with that. You're on your own now. We're there for actually two reasons. We're there to protect your privacy and to respond should anybody attack your trust or your LLC that you're going to hear about in just a second. We're there for those two reasons. If you don't want us there, excuse me, we never know a single asset that you transfer as the other trustees, nor do we know where your bank accounts are set up or anything else like that. So you are in total control of this document. Don't get into that thing. Don't say, well, I'm not giving up my control. You're not. None of us would. Again, you don't let somebody bowl you over. Use your common sense. Of course you're not giving up control. I wouldn't give up control, nor would anybody else that's got our program give up their control. It's the power of the program. You give up assets, you retain control. Give up ownership, retain control. Ownership has two things for it. One is liability. Whoever owns something is liable and gets sued if somebody gets hurt with that item. And two, ownership, whoever owns an item has to pay the taxes on it. So those are two things the super wealthy get rid of. And if they get rid of it, why are you still in the quagmire of, excuse me, why are you still in this quagmire of ownership? Only because you don't know any better. Once you learn, time to move on, guys. You're not going to, because you had a good time and you liked your third grade teacher, you didn't go back to third grade over and, well, some. But you know what I'm saying. You didn't just stay there. You had to move on. You've got to learn. You've got to grow in your life. That's what this life's all about. We grow. We learn. We develop. Do people when they're older think different than when we were kids? Absolutely. A lot of the things that interest and my kids couldn't understand. Well, Dad, how come you don't like these monster movies? Because I went through my age of monster movies for a while. Or why don't you still go buy another GTO and well, because I went through that phase in my life, of which we're on. Now it's time to move on. As a good friend of mine, a Sunday school teacher that I used to go to all the time to just a few years ago, he stopped his classes. But he says, the only difference is you can tell there's a chronological age, and then there's a mature age, and you can see where a person's at by by the toys they've got. I wanted that '59 Bonneville to park in my garage and all these. That was really neat, boy. Well, it doesn't interest me anymore. And some people like that, and they love collecting things like that, or they love traveling around Europe. Some of those things that at one time really did interest me, they haven't anymore. I've moved on, and we all do that. We go through different stages. Unfortunately, some people sometimes they get stuck right in one stage. And you know what it is a lot of times? They come home from work, they sit down and have their dinner in front of the TV with the remote. And unfortunately, in our society, and I forget what the percentage is, it was over 60. But unfortunately, that's where a lot of us are at. A lot of people are at now. I shouldn't say us because I'm not in that category anymore. And so anyway, you've just given up ownership, but you've retained control because you've been appointed trustee. So the trust then owns all of the assets that it legally and lawfully owns everything. You don't have a smidgen of ownership. And guys, one of the most important things is that it's all happened privately. Nothing is recorded. Nobody even knows you have legally, lawfully given up ownership of all of your assets. As far as anybody else on the street is concerned, you're living in the same house, you're driving the same car, you're watching the same flat screen. Nobody knows what's happened. Your whole life has changed. It's done a 180-degree flip-flop, and nobody knows it. Isn't that nice? You don't look any different. You don't have to get scars on your face or anything for this to be legal. It's legal. It's happened. We've got notarized copies of the exchanges, a notary, an officer of the court, but an unrecorded piece of paper, yet it's still as valid as any recorded piece of paper because it's got the date and the stamp on it, okay? So now the trust owns everything. The trust then, to create a second layer of protection and maybe putting it away a little bit further, the trust creates a limited liability company. The trust creates an LLC, and in the funding process, it transfers all of the assets to the limited liability company, okay? So not even the trust, it's the overall owner. It's still the owner. It's the member of the LLC, which means it's the creator, it's the member, which means it's the ultimate owner. It's the ultimate owner of all of the assets owned by the LLC, but it's very private. Nobody even knows it exists, and it doesn't matter if they do know. We've made an exchange that is so powerful it's protected by the Constitution of the United States, not some wimpy statutory law that the legislators of a state can change at their discretion. Anytime they feel like it, they can make changes to these statutory laws. Give me the bedrock, give me the foundation, give me the solidity of the Constitution of the United States anytime. Okay, so now everything, all of the assets that you just used to own are now owned by an LLC. And they will be transferred into that LLC properly when you receive your documents in 4 to 6 weeks. They will be properly transferred into the LLC. But now, for right now, and the reason we did that, guys, we didn't used to do it in the beginning, but nobody knew what a pure trust was. And it says right in the book, The Rockefeller File, your local barrister will have no idea. I know 2,000 attorneys around the country, not one of them ever knew what a pure trust was. A couple of them said they had heard about it, but it was some type of scam or something. Isn't that amazing? People that are giving us advice to live our life on, to make life decisions on, don't have a clue of the most powerful document out there. My partner with my steel erection company that I own was an attorney and judge for over 40 years. He was amazed at what I was uncovering through those first years. He said, I never knew they existed, Mike. An attorney from California called me and said, I've been an attorney for 25 years. He had seen some of my notes to a mutual friend. Said I never knew that it existed, and he's the one that helped me with UCC1. So now everything has been transferred. All of the assets, the ownership has been transferred from trust number one to the LLC. The LLC owns everything because it's a more friendly business environment. People don't know what a pure trust is. They do know what an LLC is. Bankers, attorneys, tax professionals, insurance agents, they all know what an LLC is and how to use it. LLCs, a lot of people have had them. I've had many. In S corps, you can buy stuff through them, you can sell stuff through them. They've got a purpose, a business purpose. And by the way, the purpose of this of your trust and LLC is property management, because it's going to own all of the property that you used to own, all of the personal property that you've transferred. And there was a tax professional, I don't know if it was a CPA or an accountant from Ohio, who just questioned it. Well, a business has to have a purpose, has to earn no. I know a lot of businesses that don't earn any money. I've got one LLC that strictly held tools for my construction company. It didn't have a function to earn a profit, but yet whenever I bought new tools, they were tax deductible, and that's the same mode. And all of the attorneys that I've sat with or have come to our seminars or come to the conference calls, they all agree. So anyway, now everything's been transferred to the LLC to put it into a friendlier business environment. Now we can open a checking account. Now we can deal with various factions of society in a legal, lawful mode that everybody understands. The key is, and all we're trying to do with this first LLC, the only purpose of it, guys, and the purpose of this program is 98% asset privacy and asset protection. I know a lot of people are in different businesses and all this and that, and we can protect them, but understand, LLC number one, its purpose is to protect your assets. That's it. If you want to go into something else, then you have the trust create LLC number two, and then maybe LLC number 3, 4. And then you'll set up a second program. We've got a lot of people that set up two or three, 4. We've got one fellow that has 11 separate STS programs with 4 LLCs in each one, because he's got a lot of property. He's got 60 rental properties, residential. He's got a bunch of commercial residents. He's got a construction company, restaurants, all these different things. And you have to protect yourself according to your particular structure, okay? But for most of us, that first LLC is the key. It protects what is your personal property at the time you make the contractual agreement, okay? And it's now owned by the LLC, but understand that LLC does have certain tax benefits, okay? We don't get into taxes. That is between you and the person that you have doing your taxes, your accountant, your CPA, and they will understand this in a heartbeat. They do exactly what we do with different entities, but I don't think there's a tax preparer out there that's got a decent clientele and been around for more than 3 years that doesn't have this a similar type of program where one entity creates another entity which creates another entity, okay? It might be an S-Corp that creates an LLC that creates a living trust or whatever to try and provide. But you know what? They're all statutory, and everything statutory, again, I repeat it over and over because I want you to learn it. Everything statutory can be pierced. There is not a single statutory program that can't be pierced. Why? Because somewhere along the line, that original entity was set up according to your name and social security number. Okay? That links it right to you, and all an asset investigator needs to do is find that very first one, and that's a piece of cake through your social security number. They find that very first one, and the rest fall like dominoes. They link them all together. One guy said, I can link 100 different statutory entities together in about 45 minutes. And so anyway, they all link back to you. You're the ultimate owner. And guys, that's the big difference between what we do and what other people try to do with you. We make sure that you're not involved in the setup process in any way, shape, or form. You privately form a contractual agreement protected by the Constitution for privacy's sake, that once you sign it and you become the certificate holder and the trust is created, even though you may be appointed trustee, there is nowhere on our application that you have to give your social security number. It's over with you from that point on. You are appointed very privately as a trustee. Nobody will ever know that you're a trustee unless you're dumb enough to tell them, okay? and because I'm not going to tell them. That's all private. It's a private contract protected by Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution as part of the contract and trust indenture, okay? So now the LLC owns everything, and there are tax benefits associated with the LLC, but those tax benefits are between you and your accountant. We don't deal in taxes. And I want to make a statement right now to everybody on the call. Some of you, this will be irrelevant. Others, I want it to be very relevant. I've given out the names of certain tax preparers, and these people are now being not inundated, but people are calling them, well, sir, what do you think? And they use their name. I'm not going to use it. And what do you think about this thing with the Treasury Department and all this here? Oh, guys, they're right in the middle of their tax season. Have a little decency and a little respect. They are the ones that are part of our program. They are such good people that they will not turn you down. They will take the time. Who cares about the tax directives? If you don't understand it, go to your financial planner, the guy, somebody else. But this person, to them right now, time is money. They can't be talking about tax directives and things like that, okay? And I know you mean well, but use a little common sense. That's all I ask, because a few of them have said to me, Mike, people keep calling me, asking me about these things with this program or that guys, don't do it anymore. Or I'll have, I don't know what, but I ask you in the sense of decency, don't do it anymore. These guys are trying to make their living. They don't need to hear the same questions over and over from 150 different people. What do you think of this tax directive? Well, come on the calls. You'll learn. Ask me the questions. We'll discuss them some. Well, I can't get in touch with Mike, so I had to get. No, you're bothering them. I'm very busy too. I get back to people. One of the biggest compliments we get, and I appreciate it, is that, man, you get back to us in a hurry. And people know that once in a while, I accept the fact when I deal with other people in professional capacity, they're busy. I have no problem with leaving my voicemail. They'll get back to me eventually. And if it's something that is of major importance, I will tell them, hey, if you don't mind, this is kind of an emergency, or I'll go to the emergency room, one or the other. Very simple. Give me some oxygen. I'm hyperventilating. I'm having an anxiety attack. So anyway, now everything is owned by the LLC. That LLC, and we're going to wrap it up. This is the last step. That LLC, it can be sued just like any other entity. So what the most powerful part of the program, I shouldn't say, it's really not, but it's the finale, the part, it's all the fireworks going up at one, and it's wrapped up in one item, a UCC1 lien. An attorney from California called me maybe now it's 9 or 10 years ago. Out of the clear blue, as I said, he had seen my notes from a mutual friend, and he was fascinated, and he said, I think you ought to read the Uniform Commercial Code Section 9, which I did in my research, and that introduced me to the power of the UCC1 lien, most powerful lien. Well, people have said, well, Mike, I can lien this, right? A big scam that attorneys do. They'll set somebody's got something worth something, and they will then create an LLC or a corporation out of Nevada, and that corporation or LLC will then file a big UCC1 lien against the thing they're trying to protect, and there's no basis for the lien. I had a fellow tell me that his mother-in-law would file a lien against them for $700,000, and that was overly sufficient for what, at the time, for what we were discussing. And I said, well, that's good if she files that, but if I've got a suit against her and I see anybody with a lien, I'm going to have somebody check that lien out. And more people are doing that now, and more people are going to jail for fraud, or they're getting clobbered in the courts for purposely setting up a fraudulent situation. And the attorneys, some of them have been disbarred, as a matter of fact, for purposely setting up a fraudulent scheme. So anyway, there's nothing behind it. You've got to have a basis for a lien to be relevant. Okay. So anyway, the LLC, you and your spouse were the original investors. You contractually agreed with the creator to create trust number one. You were the investors. Now, an entity can also be an investor. Now the LLC becomes the investor, and it works with our creator to put together trust number two. And it does things a little different, though. It doesn't exchange all of the physical assets that it owns. It exchanges only the equity of those assets. Equity is intangible personal property. It exchanges the equity to trust number two. And we do this for a couple of reasons. See, first of all, understand the equity is your value, what the value you own in those assets. If you have a home and your equity is $50,000 in that home, that's your value. That's just like cash in your pocket, guys. And so few people treat it that way. Oh, I just, my house is paid off. I've got the equity. Like that's a big deal. Like you're now a huge target, guys. Equitable ownership of homes is an asset investigator can determine that in about 3 minutes. And now that's one of the first things attorneys look for. How much equity is in a person's home, and so you want to protect that equity. That's yours. That's your value in all of the assets, guys. That's all this program's designed to do: protect your value of the. And so now, if somebody else has part of the value of your automobile or your home, and now the trust has the rest of the value, that item is totally encumbered. That's exactly what we want it to be. And the world will never know that you're in control of the equitable portion of that. So we transfer all of the equity of all of the assets owned by the LLC as the asset in exchange for trust certificates to trust number 2. So trust number 2 now owns all of the equity, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One, you cannot generate a lawsuit based on equitable ownership only. And for the new people, I will again give you this example. If GMAC owns an equitable position in your car, they loaned you some money to buy that vehicle, and you're the legal owner, and if there's a bad car accident and your vehicle is the cause of that accident, there's going to be lawsuits filed against 2 people. One, the owner of the vehicle, and 2, the driver of the vehicle, which it may be one and the same, but it may not. You may have loaned your car, as we've all very dumbly done. It's not correct. Is it dumbly done? As we've all done in ignorance a while back, sometime in our life. So anyway, those 2 people, but can they sue GMAC? No. GMAC did not. They only own an equitable position, and equity was not driving the vehicle, nor did equity give anybody else permission to drive the vehicle. So the equity is transferred to trust number 2, and the trustees of trust number 2 have a fiduciary responsibility and obligation to protect the assets owned by the trust for the benefit of the beneficiaries or the certificate holders in this case. So now, what's the assets owned? Equity. How do you protect equity? You protect equity with a lien, a la enter the UCC1 lien. You protect equity with a lien, okay? So now the trustees of trust number 2 file a UCC1 lien, the most powerful lien in the country, to protect every nickel of the equity owned by trust number or by the LLC. Okay? So I'll give you an example, and we'll be finishing up, and then we'll get to questions. An example is if there was $1 million of equity transferred to trust number 2, the trustees are going to file a lien for 125% of that equity. They're going to make sure there's nothing left for anybody to come after, which eliminates, is thus far eliminated every lawsuit. 40 or 50 of our clients over the last 6 to 8 years there have been actions brought against them, and they've all been dropped within a week or 2, or the majority of them have been dropped within a week or 2, and all of them have been at least settled within the limits of what our clients, the people that had their program in place, determined, not what the law firm determined. Okay. Because they had it protected, every nickel, and the law firm realizes that, hey, even if I win this case, I get nothing because there's a lien for 125% of what we had, of the value there. So, guys, that is the specialized trust strategy. That is a little history and a little information regarding the what is known as the Massachusetts Trust, Business Trust, Pure Trust, Contract Trust. Don't believe any of the pundits that are out there saying that it's a scam or it's illegal. If they tell you that, and you want to come back, a lot of you were on that call several weeks ago when I just got fed up with listening to, I did listen to a couple of the other calls, and I didn't listen to them. I take it back. I did have some people call me saying, Mike, there was people on these other calls saying that this was illegal. Well, they're pushing a statutory program, which you know, if that's what you want, guys, that's fine. I'm not trying to get. I'm just sharing what we've got and hoping you'll realize the power of the Constitution versus the ineptness of statutory entities. The only problem is very few people even know about them. You are privy to information now that maybe one person out of a million, one person out of a lot of people know about. Okay. And with that, I thank you for listening here, and I will open it up. Well, let me hold on before you do that. Hold on, don't press *1 yet. I've got a couple questions here that I need to answer, and then we'll get into your questions. One of them is real estate transfer, residence or residential equity or LLC. What should you use at which time? That depends on you. It depends on what your purpose is. Your personal residence is the only one that really you can do equity in any of them if you want, but what you want to do is to remove all liability. In my opinion, get them out of your name altogether. Everybody that has rental properties, and you're right up there with the medical profession and senior citizens when it comes to lawsuits. If you've got properties, it's just a matter of time until somebody. And we did have a person 2 weeks to the day after they started their program. One of their rental trailers was that they were in the process of selling on contract, had a fire and 4 kids burnt to death in it 2 weeks after they had set up the program. And it was a sad, we've had a lot of instances like that where people right afterwards, procrastination, guys, is the number one cause of failure. Procrastination. So you can do it. You can do the equity, but if you have any rental properties or anything beyond your residence, I would go ahead and set up additional LLCs and take ownership of those properties out of your name and put them into the name of an LLC. It helps you a little bit too when it's a little more professional when people write you a check for the rent to an LLC versus they know you're not just sitting out there as a sole proprietor. And to them, remember, you're the owner. You must have a lot of money. And some attorney gets in their ear, and maybe they were friends of yours or whatever, but some attorney gets in their ear, and all of a sudden, when they see the dollar signs, not everybody, there's still a lot of decent people out there, but somebody can be swayed, and all it takes is one to be swayed for you to lose everything that you own, OWN. Okay, so it's really up to you. And like I said, everything, personal residence, if you want to maintain for right now, we're working on that. It's not as easy as we thought it was, but we're working on that. But for right now, if you've got homestead advantages, tax advantages, et cetera, in your state, you can protect every dime in your personal residence by just filing in trust number 1. You fill out Schedule B1, real property equity transfer. You put in the simplicity of it is you put in the address, you put in the legal description, and you have it notarized. Officer of the court puts their stamp on it. Bingo. Every dime in that house of yours is now totally encumbered. Okay? There's nothing for anybody to come after. So let's see. I've got 2 more questions, I think. Here's one. It says, there is currently no authorizing legislation in Canada for LLC. Somebody had sent me this. I won't mention their name. But there is currently no authorizing legislation in Canada for LLCs. That all that means is it says, help me, does this mean I have a contract which I cannot act upon in Canada, but is only good if I have legal implications in the U.S.? No, it doesn't. The LLC is basically set up by the Canadians to protect their investment or their AR in areas other than Canada, but through the power of the United States Constitution. It's the most powerful constitution in the world, bar none. And so they can protect that here. However, we've got many that are, and I just got off the phone with one, that they use the trust to set up a Canadian corporation to protect if they want to do things right there. Now, again, it's created through the name and the EIN number of the trust. Not that the Canadian corporation is set up that way. Secondly, the second part of this, I have news on Canadian banking. Oh, well, lies tomorrow. Okay. A couple more questions, and then I'll open it up to you. I've already signed and executed the Schedule B1 in order to transfer the equity of this entity over to the trust. Is there anything else that I need to transfer or fill out when it comes to receiving the revenue that was generated through the services of this company? It's an existing, that company is an existing LLC, okay? And what we do is, again, we tie up the equity with Schedule B1 of trust number 2, which allows the trust then to put a lien against your existing business because it owns an equitable position. Is that brilliant or what? And it puts that together in that way. You just operate your business as you always would. You don't change a thing. You continue operating your business just as you are today. The day after all you're doing. Okay, I apologize. I muted myself by accident there. All right, another question here. I'd like to continue to operate with that LLC if possible. Sure you can. Just keep right on going. A lot of our clients have existing. They fill out a B1, Schedule B1 business equity transfer and trust 2 for each of their businesses, and they move right on down the line. This question 2, I have signed, executed only one Schedule B form. That's all you need for that one, okay? So that was an easy one. So now I will open it up. If anybody has questions, please press *1. Let's again just say your name, and I'll call out the name that I hear. And please, the minute I say somebody's name, would everybody else be silent for a minute, and then but ask just one question because there's a lot of people that have questions. So with that, who's first?
Hi, Mike. It's Diane.
Hi, Diane. Go
okay.
ahead.
I'm a little confused here. I sent you an email. And I had asked if trust number 1 has to open up a bank account underneath the trust, not the LLC, but the trust itself.
Okay, yes, it does. Eventually. Only for tax purposes next year. Okay, next April, not this April, but next April. So yes, it does open up eventually. Now, trust number 1, and understand, people, I don't get into that a lot because everybody has enough information, but once you've been involved a little bit here, and we are with the new marketing structure we're putting together. We're going to have training sessions around the country in different places, and this will all be laid out even better. But trust number 1 does have tax benefits. It can reimburse. It's a business entity, but for the most part, it's enough to understand for a lot of people right off the bat that they're receiving tax benefits from their LLC. So we just kind of keep it to that right now. But as you learn more about your program, as you become more familiar with Trust 1, you'll realize how much it's 1,000 times more powerful actually than the LLC. It just uses that LLC as an expendable position, like a pawn in a chess game. Okay, but yeah, you will eventually.
Well, the reason I asked that is because on your forms in your package here, that the one that went to the bank for the LLC, I'm going to use this as an example, HIXI, and then it has Declaration of Trust Bank Resolution, and that went to the bank. It says, I, Michael Clark, as trustee of HIXI, which is a single member of the LLC. Okay, so that went to the bank and it was notarized, and then you had another form that had our address on it, and this went to the bank as well. It said bank information to whom it may concern. It says HIXI is a living trust. So those were the 2 sheets that went to the bank. But inside your binder, underneath the trust, you have the exact same forms almost, except at the top of it, it says HIXI as well, but then it's got comma, CT, and then comma, CL.
Those should have been removed long ago when they made some adjustments just recently to our entity. All that means is contract, trust, common law. But those, I think they're off now. When did you receive your documents?
I received it, well, this is dated on here, the 1st to 28th of 2011.
Which month?
January 28th.
Anyway,
January
whatever.
28th.
Okay, January, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's been taken off. That was recognized maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that was still on there. It was supposed to have been removed. It has been removed now, I believe, on everything. I'll double check it. I'll have somebody double check that. But that doesn't hurt. All it means is contract, trust, common law, which links the 2 together for all intents and purposes. But it doesn't need to be on there.
Okay, so are you just talking about the CT and the CL to be removed?
Yeah.
What about the 2 documents? Are those the 2 that eventually next April would go to the bank to set up a bank account for the trust?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll go. No, they're separate documents. The one that goes to the bank for the trust says it's in the binder. It's in the sleeve rather of trust number 1 document, and it says it's in white paper and it says living trust. That's what goes to the bank. Just that. That and the EIN number and the bank resolution. Those 3 items, and they're all together, right? In the sleeve of trust number 1.
Okay, Michael. Michael, this is Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I had a guy, one of the people that I'm working with. He asked a question. He said, "With the LLC, should I run a small business out of it, or should I get another LLC?" And I said that depends on the liability you want to expose with the business. I said if it's a small business, it's okay to do it. If you're going to be doing a lot of business, then you may want to consider an LLC. Did I give him the right advice?
Pretty close. I would, if it was the super wealthy, they keep their what's considered their personal property. Rose Kennedy's china set, Jackie Kennedy's jewelry. They keep that totally separate from everything else. So if you're going to run a business, yeah, I would always have the trust create another LLC, even if it's a small business. It could be where he cuts grass and a stone could fly out. And remember, everything owned by that LLC then is exposed to loss if the thing that creates the circumstance is in that. So I would create a second LLC. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Good.
Hey, Michael.
Who else?
Yes,
Mr.
G.
Hey, Mr. G.
Hey,
how are
Mike.
You?
I'm doing fine, sir. My friend Gerald is on the line. Good, man. My friend Gerald wants to ask you a question, so he's on my line. So that's why I'm calling you out. And then I have one question. Go ahead, Gerald.
You bet.
Okay.
Hey, Gerald, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. How about you, man?
Good, brother. Hey, thanks for coming on the call tonight.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Well, my question is just concerning with the new treasury things that they're trying to put out on everybody. Okay, I'm reading on the NAR Banker site, and it says exchanges to trust must be initiated by the trust administrator or the trustee. Now, I heard what you said before, where you said we shouldn't really divulge that information, like let people know that we are the trustee. But it kind of seems like they're almost trying to make us, reveal that information. Like they're trying to.
That's good. That's a good question. Let me answer.
Yeah. So how do we handle that?
Yeah. Understand, people. You don't openly go out wearing this little thing that I am a trustee on your shirt sleeve. But there is nothing the matter with letting people know if you have to. Like in that instance, I'm not ashamed. Hey, I'm a trustee. If you want to know about it, I don't go around telling everybody. But I'm an appointed trustee. The super wealthy put this together so perfectly that they're always appointed trustees or appointed managers. Yeah, I'll put my signature in a heartbeat on something, and I do it all the time. As trustee, I sign Michael B. Clark, trustee. Okay, it's not a situation where I'm just signing my name with no title behind it. I'm appointed. I can be unappointed in a heartbeat. They cannot come after me for any problems they have with that trust. And we don't put anything in the trust that will generate a loss. Put any vehicles in there, anything like that. Don't. When I said that, that's all I meant. Don't openly go around. I'm a trustee. But when it comes to where you have to sign legal documents, sure, you bet. I have no problem with somebody I'm a trustee.
Okay, this is Sean.
Position. That's a good question. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Hello, Mike.
In here?
Yeah,
Hey,
Mr. G.
Mike.
Hold on one
I
second.
still have my
Mr. G.
question.
Mr. G.
Mike?
Yeah.
Hold on.
This is Ronald.
Hold on,
Hold on
Ronald.
1 second, Ronald. Hold on.
Okay. My question, Mike, was about your spouse. Basically, okay, when we sign up for the STS system, that does cover our wife, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, my question
I'm
is...
not getting in the middle of that one.
No. You're all right, man. You're all right. It's
right.
real simple yes or no question.
I'm teasing. Go ahead.
Okay. Will my wife be assigned an employee identification number as well, or will it just be me?
Okay, you are not assigned an employee identification number. Only trust number 1 and the LLC are assigned separate employee EIN numbers, okay? You will not be assigned employment identity. Yeah, so that's cool.
Okay, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work.
Okay, brother. Thank you, and you keep it up too. Thanks, Mr. G.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Hello,
Ronald, go ahead. Ronald.
Yeah, Mike.
Ronald. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Ronald. A friend
Ronald?
introduced me to the program last week, and I listened to it, and I find it very interesting and exciting. I'd like to get a copy of the Rockefeller file and to learn how to get into the SGC program.
Okay. Let me tell you, I'm going to give everybody our email address right now, and I'm
ready.
I want you to send me. What's your name, sir?
Ronald.
Ronald. Just send me a simple email saying, Mike, this is Ronald. I talked with you on the call. Would you send me some of your materials, including the Rockefeller file? I'll have you shoot it out to you in a heartbeat. Okay? Now, our email address for anybody new on the call that wants some of our material, including the Rockefeller file, if you want it, is here it is. There's some background noise there, so I'm going to get rid of that background noise so everybody can hear it.
I didn't have them in the morning.
Okay, hold on.
There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, there is. Let me get rid of some of this. Okay. Hopefully that's got rid of some of it now. My email address, guys, is mpgprotect, PROTECT, mpgprotect, PROTECT, at AOL.com. Now, for those of you that are sending in applications, okay, from now on, write this email address down. From now on, we've had a number of them get lost in spam and different things, so we've made a change there. From now on, if you are sending in your application, send it to STS Applications, APPLICATION. STS Application at gmail.com. Yes, I left the loyalty of AOL and went to a Gmail account. And I don't want to hear anything from anybody.
Okay, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. We'll get it out to you right away.
Okay,
Robert, please.
Have a blessed evening now.
Oh, you too. Blessings to you, brother.
Hey, Mike, Terry got a question?
Who is this?
Terry?
Terry, go ahead, my friend.
You mentioned at the beginning of the conference you're going to talk about Freedom Club USA and Dinar, and I guess one other one, Petro America, as to what to do with that when the funds.
Okay. The only thing I really meant by that, and I was just saying it. What I was meaning was, if anybody has any questions, the way the one fellow did about the new Treasury directives. Guys, you are the trustees. You are the individual. An individual by law is defined as not only a human being, but a legal valid entity, of which are the pure trust is, of which the LLC is. We just protected that entity. So you will be able to do all of those transfers, and rather than I'm putting together a very short but very descriptive little 2-3 paragraph thing that I will be sending out to everybody in the next couple of days, just talking about what I just said. You can legally and lawfully, according to those directives, and I don't have it in front of me right now. I apologize. I didn't put it in my case. It's back at the room there. So anyway, I just wanted you to know that I'll put together a little couple, 3 things, but that this doesn't affect the privacy and power of your program at all. If you're an individual and all this starts happening, you're just laying out there with all the money that's coming to you, whether it's through Dinar, whether it's through interim funding, whether it's through AR. You're just laying out there totally exposed, guys. If you've got a statutory program that's linked to your name, your Social Security number, it's exposed. I've had somebody tell me, oh, there's certain state that they use your Social Security number. I've got all of the applications of all the states. Every one has a Social Security number on it, guys. It has to be linked to a person, to an entity that's going to pay that tax. or be responsible, not pay the tax, that was the wrong use of words, be responsible for that entity. They want to know who you are, okay? So that's the key difference between what we do. We have the power of the Constitution versus if one of the legislators gets a burr under their saddle and they feel they want to make some changes to the corporate law structure of their state or to the LLC rules and regulations or partnership or trust, they make a change and you're out in the cold, okay? So get involved in something that, in my opinion, that doesn't change. The Constitution, for crying out loud, they can't get an amendment to do things like, and I don't know where your position is, I'm not worried about, I know where mine is, but they can't even get permission to do things on some very meaningful legislation. They can't get a change to the amendment to the Constitution. So these are going to be around for a long time. And so all I'm saying is all of those things, just like it can only be done through a committee or an individual, you got to know. See, they're masters at just giving you part of the story, or in some way turning it around so that it sounds like, oh, you better do it only as an individual. If they want to do that. I don't know what, but the reason they do it, guys, remember, if you own things, that gives them the power to threaten and intimidate you. Creditors do it because we're going to sue you and take your stuff you own. Attorneys do it because if you get in a car wreck, they're going to sue you and take your stuff. We're going to get a judgment well beyond the limits of your liability insurance. Government agencies do it. And you know what? Believe it or not, even the IRS will try to threaten and intimidate people every once in a while. And with this program, they can't touch you. IRS, it's 0.0006% of pure trusts that are audited, guys. Okay? That, and 1% is 0.01. So how far below 1% is this? So again, this is a philosophy to learn to live your life by. Not a quick fix. It is a quick fix, but it's also something that you want to get involved with. I tell you, I can't even tell you the hundreds of people that have said, Mike, we've had our program now for a couple of years or a year or whatever, and man, things are so much different. It's really enjoyable living your life knowing you don't ever have to worry about losing anything, being sued because of if you had a heart attack or cancer and the bills went up through the ceiling and they came after you. Let them come after you. You own nothing. But yeah, I will take care of that in the next couple of days, and we will have a little thing responding to these directives. If somebody would please, and you don't have to say it now, but if somebody would please send me those directives again so I've got them. I don't know what I did with them. To be honest with you, I just looked on my computer. Can't find them.
Michael, I have a question.
Yes. Whoops, hold on one second, Ron. Who is this? Who is the young lady?
Kathleen.
Number the word.
Kathleen? Okay. Go ahead.
On Thursday night's call, we were talking about the RV and the dinar, and you were saying you don't want to say you're an appointed trustee, and then you followed it with, it can't go to the LLC. I want you to know that. And so I just want to clarify, when the dinar RVs...
What did I say about you're not an appointed...
You said it can't go, you said don't say you are an appointed trustee, and then you said we don't want to say that. We don't want to tell anyone that we're a trustee. And then you said it can't go to the LLC. I want you to know that. So now I'm
going to have to listen to it again because I don't know. Yeah, me too. I don't.
Does the dinar money go into the LLC account, or do we have to create a trust bank account?
No, it'll go right. The dinar is owned right now by the LLC. I apologize. I'll have to listen to that call again because the two things you're saying, I don't, and I sometimes I get my merge mixed up and things come out a little bit backwards or not quite, especially if I'm on a roll. But there's nothing you don't want to put on your checks, for example, the LLC checks you get, you don't want to put your name down there as manager. That's private. But if you have to use it, see, that's the power and the beauty of the program. You're an appointed manager, and for those of you that maybe are a little confused by what's being mentioned here, and she's probably right, I might have said something a little bit wrong. But and if I do, hey, by all means, if I say something that doesn't make sense to you, bring it up. what you're saying to me now doesn't make sense to me, but I will look up and see what I said, and if I will retract if I made a mistake. But you can, I am an appointed manager. I am an appointed trustee. I just don't go blaring it out. But if I have to sign a document, for example, regarding the LLC, if I have to put down there, that's when I, for example, when I do the 104, what is it, FinCEN form, I will sign as Michael Clark, manager, okay, because I am the manager of the LLC that owns the dinar and that will be having the dinar put into its account. Okay, so I have no problem with letting people know that I'm an appointed manager. And let me quickly share with everybody the power of that. If I were to appoint somebody, if I were to appoint you as Senior Vice President of Field Operations of my construction company, and you had all the rights and authority to signatory power, you were given signatory power and all these other things, you could hire and fire, you could purchase equipment for us. But if the company were sued, they can't come after you. You're only an appointed vice president, okay? So if I said that, or in what capacity I said it, and I don't know, I'll go back and listen because I don't like to misinform somebody. I'll listen and then I will have it again Thursday. I'll tell you what I said, and if I said it wrong or it was in a confusing manner, I will straighten it out. But understand, if you have to sign as an appointed trustee or as an appointed, there's nothing illegal about it. I mean, everything we're doing is in the black and white. We don't even go into gray areas, okay? So you're it's fine to put down on that 104 form. I'm signing on behalf of LLC, of which, such and such LLC, of which I am the manager, and I have the authority to do that. Okay.
Mike, this is Gail.
Hi, Gail.
Hi. I have two things I want you to address, if you would, and this has to do with number one, when we might be, paying off an existing mortgage, exactly how we go about doing that, and then number two, if we are to buy a new, home, meaning the mortgage would be that we owed would be previous to the RV, and then the new one would be afterwards. And then also, I thought I also heard you just say that when we sign, you don't want to sign your check with your name manager. Well, I thought that's what we have to sign the checks.
Right. No, I didn't say that. You sign your name, comma, manager. Mm-hmm.
I thought you said we don't want to sign it like that, but okay, fine.
Oh, no. You're exactly right. If I said that, again, it was it was wrong. Yeah, you have to sign it with manager or trustee or investor or contractor, whatever your title is. You're signing a document as that's what you sign it with that title. Your name.
I heard you specifically say check though, just a little bit ago. But so check, we would sign our name, comma, manager, correct? Oh,
absolutely.
Okay, now let's address the situation with paying off the existing mortgage versus buying a new property.
Okay.
How would we do that? And I heard you say, I thought before, that we would just purchase the new property, the new home, directly from the LLC, write a check from that. But I want you just to address those two scenarios.
Okay. You can, the existing mortgage is simple. The depending on how you want to do it, the LLC can just pay off the existing mortgage and create, if you want to put the property then in the name of the trust to where it is the LLC rather, to where it is the owner, that's fine. It's got a piece of property with X number of value and it's paid to, in essence, purchase that property. If you want to keep the money if you want to keep the name of the property the title of the property in your name, you simply take a mortgage out from the trust, pay off the old existing mortgage, you start a new mortgage for maybe 40 years at 2%, and you make your payments. And the mortgage payments are tax deductible if you're looking for a little bit of tax deduction in there. So you can do it either way. And in purchasing a new home, you're right. If you've got the money to pay cash, you can pay cash. If you want to make it a mortgage to you and put the legal title in your name, you can do it that way as well. It's going to be protected through the trust number 2 UCC1 lien, so it doesn't matter. But I would go ahead and purchase it through the LLC. I live my whole life basically through the LLC now. I wouldn't purchase a home or anything else in my own name anymore. Sometimes, if until you get a little credit built up with your LLC, and guys, treat it as a business. You start developing credit. If I had a construction company and I never got serious about developing credit for that company, opening accounts at different places and paying them on time, if I never got serious about that, I would have been out of business in a year and a half. You can't run a business without developing credit, and treat this LLC or any of your LLCs as a business. I don't care if you go to JCPenney and you do whatever, if you got to sign as a co-signer or whatever to start establishing credit. If you go to banks, just make sure that they do report to the credit bureau. You want them to report every and in 6 months of payments being on time or a few days early with wherever you've got credit that reports, they will you'll have AAA credit. I mean, your credit it'll jump up dramatically. Okay, so with the house thing, yeah, you can. I would pay off the house with the trust. The LLC rather. The LLC now becomes the owner, and the same way if you want to buy a new one, I would purchase it. That way you've taken out all liability off your name, and secondly, I would keep them in their own LLCs. You don't want somebody else, some other piece of property affecting your property, but I would do it that way.
Okay, there's another a way that it was explained to us as far as paying off the existing mortgage, and this has a difference in the tax implication by doing it this way, and that was to take and write a check from the LLC to the trust bank account. We're supposed to set up a trust account in the name of the trust, number one trust, and they said that you figure out all your bills that you need to pay off for your if you want to get out of debt, you figure out come up with a total plus X amount of money you think you're going to need for 6 months or a year. And then you write a check out to the trust in the name of the trust. That's how your other bank account will be set up in the name of the trust. And then you put that in that bank account, and then from there you write a check out to yourself to your own name to put in your household account to pay off your bills. And by doing that way, you'll be able to save, I guess it's 20% on the unemployment taxes, or what do you call it?
Yeah, it's the it would be the K-1 distribution to yourself, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, you can do that.
So that's just another way, and you're supposed to be able to save on the tax.
There's a lot of different ways, and as you've all heard me say all the time, if you go to 20 different financial planners or tax professionals, you're going to get 20 different answers. They've all got their opinions. And just find one you're comfortable with, because, whatever they do for you, you're going to be better off than if you tried to do it yourself, probably. I'm a believer in when there's things I don't know about, I go to a professional. I find somebody, but it's somebody I get along with. And that's good. That's a good point, Gail. Yeah, you save the 15% FICA and probably unemployment tax as well. Yeah.
Well, what do you call it? It's what do you pay? It's not the unemployment tax. It's
FICA.
When you have a self-employment tax, you save 20% if you do it the other way. Transfer to the trust account.
It's actually about 16%, but you save it. You're right. And if the state has it, you're right. It may be up at 20%. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Mike, it's Dale.
All right, Dale, go ahead.
Dale.
Mike.
One.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last Thursday, you said you would find out a little more if you do, instead of doing ledger to ledger, like on dinar money transfer, to actually just transfer into U.S. currency, then you would have a certain amount of days to do a 1031 exchange into other currencies if you need to postpone to get into capital gains treatment. Did you find out any more on those days?
On the time frame, no, I didn't. He was, and I know his situation. He is swamped right now, so I'm going to go ahead and I've been swamped too, but I'm going to go ahead and by Thursday I'll have that time frame. I believe it's 60 days. I feel pretty confident in that, but I'll find out for myself so that I'll share it with you. I called today and he was swamped, and he said, Mike, I just get a chance to pay taxes. So, all right, but good. Thank you for reminding me about that. Thank you, Earl. Thank you.
Arizona.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike, this is Gene and Vicki in Arizona.
Hi, Gene and Vicki. How are you guys?
Doing fine. I've sent you the most current directives from the Dinar Banker and Dinar Trader both doing.
Thank you.
But what they were going to do for us was allow us to go directly from dinar into gold and silver, which it says now they're going they must take it to USD, and that to me says that's a taxable event at that point, and so we can't hold it for the 1 year to get the long-term capital gains. Is that correct? And are you going to address this?
No, that's what we were just talking about. There is a time frame for the 1031 exchange or 1035, whatever it is. There's a time frame in there for that. You've got X number of days to do it, and I will find out what that is, what that time frame is. That's why I said I'll try and have it by Thursday. I was going to have it by today, but the fellow didn't. He was just too busy and didn't have a chance to look it up for me. But I will find out that it's not just a one-day thing or anything. It's like 60, just like when you do a house, to defer the capital gains on a house. You've got the 1035 exchange, and I believe it's one or the other, 1031 or 1035, and the other is for insurance policies and currency and things like that. They couldn't expect you to sell your house and you've got a capital gain and be all closed on the other one the next day. You've got X number of days to. It may be 15 days. I don't know, but I thought I had heard it was about 60 days. Might have been 30 or something, but I'll find out, because you don't have to. And when they first said that about a direct transfer, I thought, well, that'd be cool if they can do that. I didn't think they could do it, but but I don't see why. It doesn't make any sense why they would force us to do it into a certain currency such as the U.S. dollar. I don't understand how they're getting away with that, unless that's just convenience on their part, and they can't. They don't want to take the time.
They say it's a U.S. Treasury directive that's come down. Where is that directive, and who's got it?
That's what I mean. With all three of those, or four of those, or five of those, whatever, all these directives, guys, I've never seen a number on any of them. If anybody has, that's what I was asking for earlier. If somebody's got those directive numbers, send them to me. I'd like to look them up. People can say a lot of things to get people to funnel themselves into a certain corral, so to speak, where they want you. Maybe, would it be out of line to think that possibly the Treasury Department wanted those in U.S. dollars so they could control you and know exactly what you got?
Yeah.
No, our Treasury Department, wouldn't do that. Okay, who's next? We got a couple more.
No?
Who's this?
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
How are you?
Good. Who is this? Go ahead. You're on.
Can you hear me? What?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to get in touch with you. Money from Dinar Banker.
Okay.
Going into a friend's account. And split it with him. When that money comes out of the account, that he has to pay, and then I have to pay tax again.
Okay, let me touch base on that. When the money goes into the account, he's got to
right
pay
out
tax.
of Dinar Banker, it goes into a friend's account.
Then
we would pay taxes on that. And then if that was split in half.
No, you don't pay it right away. Here's the way it works. Capital gains. It's going to be a capital gains tax.
Okay.
Now this is what all of our CPAs and enrolled agents and accountants have told me. Okay. It's when it comes out. When the RV first happens, there is going to be a capital gains. You don't have to pay that capital gains until tax time. Certain CPAs and accountants have said, yes, I'm not going to work with them. Not that it would bother me. Hey guys, we're going to make so much money off of either Freedom Club or Dinar or Petra. Some of these here that are really looks like they're about to manifest themselves into financial rewards for everybody. But I will take the money immediately and put it into an escrow account for my tax obligations due the following April. Okay. Now,
what if it was a account? That's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
No, a personal account.
Oh, if you put them into a personal account,
right?
Well, even then you can use it, but you're gonna pay a 30 if your Dinar aren't. If I took and cashed in 3 of them for, let's say they RV or 2 of them, let's say they RV'd at $3, so I cashed in $225,000. Now I've got $150,000. the tax on that will be roughly 35%. So that's, let's say.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's $50,000. So I know that I've got, in April, I've got a $50,000 tax obligation on what I cashed in. Now, if I didn't cash in, if I transferred the rest into gold and silver and held it until my dinar, the day I purchased my dinar, was 1 year and 1 day, then the tax drops down to 15%. Not only that, I don't have to pay that tax until such time it's been deferred, until such time as I cash in part of the gold and silver. And then I owe 15% if I cash in $100,000 worth of gold currency,
right.
Then I would owe 15% or $15,000 in that year. Not right from the beginning.
Instead of a personal account right into a trust, would you pay that amount of taxes?
You'll pay that, you'll pay, if there's not been any taxes paid, somebody is going to pay the tax somewhere along the line. Believe me, these people that say that you can get out of paying the taxes, guys, everybody I've talked to, without exception, says those people are going to jail, or they're going to at least be harassed until their accounts get frozen and everything else. And the dinar, the markup on this is so phenomenal. Even in all my high-yield investments that I've done, I've never seen anything comparable to this. So I'm going to pay my taxes. I'm going to pay the 35% right off the bat on some of it gladly. And when I got my first $1 million return, go ahead.
It's an RV instead of an R. Like an RI would be money that the dinar was worth. That you wouldn't pay taxes on it, but if it was an RV, that would be an RI. If it was $355, then you would pay taxes on that amount of money.
Yeah, and that could, if you've got somebody that is going to do your,
I'm just telling you what
taxes,
I'm just
and I don't know
heard.
And I just told you what I heard, and hey, that's good. Hey, maybe somebody really knows how to do that or believes in it. And I'm not saying that our people are the smartest or the brightest bulbs on the tree or anything. But
no, I'm not demeaning anything.
Oh, I know you're not. I know you're not. Yeah. And I'm just trying to share with you what I've learned too. That's all.
No, believe me, sir, I understand. Is it put your money offshore or in the States? As far as trust. Okay.
Basically, the LLC, all the money's going to be in the LLC, and so we've chatted with people many times about you don't want to put it offshore in your name. You're still a scapegoat there. They'll get you. They'll lock up your offshore account. So the offshore attorneys that I know, and some of the people on this call tonight have talked with, they love the idea that now you go offshore as your LLC, not linked to your name or social security number in any way, shape, or form. You still have the strength of the international banks, and believe me, it's very nice. It's very nice. You still have taxes to pay, but eventually. But yeah, hey, thanks for the question. I appreciate it.
No, I was just asking questions. I'm searching, and I did leave a internet contact. I'm sure you probably got my messages.
Okay. What was your name?
I would like to talk to you via phone. I don't have internet access.
Okay.
I'm usually in the city or in the woods, and that's how bad it's gotten for me.
What's your name?
My name is Shannon.
I'm sorry, it's what? You're breaking up here. Are you in the woods?
Not right now.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you what. Call my cell phone, and you have my number? Let me give it to you.
Now, if I could.
Yeah, it is 407-873.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, 407-873-1289. Call me and say, what was your first name again?
My name is Shannon.
Shannon. Okay, Shannon.
My mother was a pilot in World War II.
Oh, wow.
She was in the WASP.
Wow, great. Good for her. So it's 1283, and give me a call. Say, Mike, this is Shannon, and leave your phone number, and repeat it just like I did, very slowly, so I can tell what it is. And a lot of times people rush through their phone numbers, and I don't get a chance. But Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you calling in tonight.
873-1283.
Yes.
Correct?
407-873. Oh, excuse me. 1289. 1289.
1289.
Yes.
Okay.
873-1289. I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, very, very nice. I look.
Okay, brother. Take care. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yep,
All right,
no
guys,
problem.
I'm going to call it a night. We went a little over tonight. Send any questions you've got. I know you've got a lot more questions. Send them to me on email. A lot, like I say, a lot of them are the same questions. So I'll put them together and we'll answer them so that everybody can have it. And God bless and thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you again tonight. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you Thursday. Good night.